welcome everybody to the first New Wave Esports live stream. I'm pretty stoked. The team has been working very hard to get this up and running. Yesterday we recorded a whole bunch of podcasts. We've got a lot of great stuff to get into today. But I want to thank you for joining us, supporting us. This is the start to something real big. I'm really excited to be sharing a lot of the great education, information about esports, where we're going with it. But for some of you who don't know me, I'm Dan Mitre. I'm the CEO of New Wave Esports. I'm joined by two very good-looking, loving gentlemen. Make me look better on camera. My trusted colleague, Trumbull, president of New Wave, and NukemDukem, who just got engaged recently.
Nice.
Awesome.
Congrats.
Yeah. You tied down, happily tied down. That means you're off the market. I'm off the market. Fortunately for me, unfortunately for the rest of the world, that's good. I've been gaming a lot of gamers who've been playing since we were kids.
Right.
You know, I was 4 years old when I got my first Nintendo. Mario 3. Like, hands down, that's still my favorite game to this day.
Yeah.
I own it on like 20 different versions in platforms. Yeah. So I've been playing since then, and I want to say I get to play maybe 5-6 hours a week, which is not as much as I want to. Especially when this guy who makes a living on gaming, he plays that in a day.
Yeah.
And then some.
But 8 hours a day playing games.
That's the balance.
Sounds horrible.
That is balance, yeah.
I mean, but that's the ironic thing too is I've always been in the gaming industry and you don't have nearly as much time as you want to play.
Of course.
So do you play games yourself?
I'm
just looking at it.
I've never been a huge gamer myself. My exposure to gaming has been. It was always I was a traditional sports guy, and as I've said before, people have heard it. It'd be on hockey tournaments,
Okay.
and the whole team would be back in somebody's hotel room, all piled in, playing almost like a miniature tournament,
Right.
In somebody's room. My playing myself was kind of on a road trip with the family, and my parents would throw me a Game Boy to keep quiet in the back seat, and
Now
I'd be
it's
out there.
cell phones, and now you can play games on phones, yeah.
And I'm a big fan of like the old school Duck Hunt type stuff. I'm not as advanced as you two guys are, so I'm not quite on that same level as the gaming for sure.
But you do catch like streams of games.
Yeah, for sure. You got to, especially being in this industry and being involved in New Wave. You've got to keep up on all that's going on.
Right.
And on that note, with streaming, I wasn't watching it being streamed, but at the EMG Get on My Level event, I was there, and it was one of the first esports events that I'd seen, and it absolutely
like
in person, it absolutely blew me away. I'm used to going to like Toronto Maple Leaf hockey games,
right?
And the tickets are so expensive. The audience is all suits. I mean, it's like dead quiet when the Leafs score. This thing, the passion that these guys had, the passion that the audience had, the screaming, the standing up, it was unbelievable how involved everybody gets in the passion. It's really exciting to see.
And the room was so energetic, man.
And the chants and like when big plays happen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like not just chants. These kids were like jumping up out of their
screaming,
seats, throwing things at each other, and they're on the stream like watching this on their phone so they can engage with everybody on chat. Like, I just love how they're so hyper engaged.
Like, speaking of these big tournaments, did you guys catch the Fortnite World Cup?
Oh yeah.
Like, that was huge and massive.
Yeah. That was wild.
A lot of money being thrown around too.
I know, right?
Yeah. And not a lot, an insane amount.
Insane. That is verifiably insane.
Yeah, and the gamer that won at just such a young age is like, what do you do with all that money? Do you go to a hedge fund manager, ask for financial advice, or what?
You probably should. I don't know if he is.
I better play cool. He's going to be like managing this kid now. No, it was wild, man. I was actually in Toronto at the time, and one of our advisors, Neil Duffy, he was on boots on the ground, and he said just the energy was absolutely just insane. And he calls me up, he's like, dude, one of our teams just took a second in duos. Team Lazarus.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I'm like, I'm ecstatic, and I'm like feverishly messaging our marketing team, let's promote this is awesome, let's get the word out, this is huge. And then we're like, well, let's see what we can do on the next day in the singles. And then they took fourth in the singles. Mm-hmm. Like, just absolutely slaughtered it that weekend.
So that's great for the team, great for the athlete himself, but great for New Wave because we are part of that.
Yeah. So how does that impact our investment in Tidal, who owns and operates Team Lazarus?
Well, for sure, the company that we're invested in, their valuation has increased with that. They have more revenue coming in. They have more height. They've got more eyes on them. So the valuation of that company goes up. So as a result, the portion of the company that we own essentially has gone up. So our investment, again, has gone up. We were already seeing it. They're raising capital at, I think, a fourfold of where we invested. And that's just one example of one of the companies that we're invested in.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to see so early. It doesn't always happen that quickly, but within a really short period of time, we're seeing that significant growth.
Yeah, I got off a call with Charlie Watson, the CEO of Tidal, runs Lazarus, and he was just over the moon with that success. And that opens up a lot of opportunities to reinvest back into the team and the organization that he's building. So, this is an incredible amount of capital to be able to expand all of their different revenue streams.
So I want to ask a question that usually doesn't ever get asked. It always piques my interest. So you guys invest in teams, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So
one of the pillars.
One of the pillars. So what goes into your decision making? What analytics or personality you guys look into? Like, hey, this is a team we should take a look at, maybe approach. And then what is decisions like moving on to another team? Like, what goes into all that factors?
So there's a few things that absolute must that we have to check off when we're investing in anything, not just a team, but really any pillar. Number one is probably management, and it's got to be a good management and a management that can execute on their plan. If management doesn't have a proven track record and can't execute, then history tells us they're probably not going to be able to. So we don't want to gamble on those that company or that management. Next thing is the valuation. The valuation has to make sense. If you're buying something that is completely overvalued and totally dreamland, it's not worth it. The investment's not going to catch up. We're not going to be able to see an appreciation on it. The other thing is they have to be able to see the growth, and they have to be able to execute on that growth, because we want to see our investment appreciate at the bottom line. And then there's a couple like little minor things. If those were 1, 2, and 3, I would say now we'll put sub-headlines. It works with our ability to work with management and how workable they are. And not that we want to step in and like control the management, but we definitely want to help guide them. We want to work with them, and we want them to be open to using our contacts, collaborating, and helping build their business, because as a result, that's going to help everybody.
So how do you actually evaluate teams? Do you look at their win percentage or the player dynamics or how they usually mix up the roster or the synergy, or is it just go through all that from an outside perspective?
Yeah, well, we look at a team like any other company, and we treat it as a business. We're looking, hey, what's your top line revenue? Are you opening up other revenue streams that contribute back into your company? They don't necessarily need to be bottom line profitable, especially in the growth phase. And that's fine. They need that working capital to expand those revenue streams and open up new audiences. But we very much look at, like you're saying, the team.
Yeah.
Are they capable of delivering against their vision? Do they have a good vision in place? And then are they running good business practices that will keep them sustainable after that working capital runs out? Or, even if it does run out, do they need additional working capital injections? So do they have proper financial planning in place? Do they have proper product development in place? So we really look at it holistically and really dive into every single nuance of this company, have a good understanding of its landscape before you make that investment.
So this is a brand new topic for me. So when you like a team and you want to invest, do you have to compete for that team, or have competing company bidding offers for that team? Is that happening?
Sometimes, absolutely. I think the misconception is that there is more of a competition when we're investing, because we are an acquisition company as well as an investment company. Usually if we're going to acquire something, it starts off with an investment. We'll own X percentage of it. We see that the company is making their goals. We'll see that everybody's doing what they say they can do, and seeing that we can work with the company, and then we'll go and acquire it fully if we can. But it's not really a competition, because generally a company might need X amount of dollars, and we're only going to invest, maybe it's 15, maybe it's 20, maybe it's 25% of what they need. So we do need other business partners. So it's not really a competition, as more as a collaboration with other people. We love partnering with other funds and other high net worth investors, because they'll invest along the same lines as us, but we'll actually work with the company a little bit more hands-on and work to see that their goals are realized. And then as a result, the other hedge funds, the other high net worth investors like working with us because we're maybe a little bit more involved and a little bit more of sort of the esports guys are not just so passive.
Yeah, and one thing that we really incentivize a lot of our investment is building in our advisory services. So, I come from gaming, and the gaming side, and there's a lot of great things that you can tap into on that side. And then we bring in the financial side of things. And so we get very involved with the teams. So, unlike other investment groups, like they get the money and, okay, cool, go do your thing, and we're not going to provide any strategic value for you.
Right.
We bring in a lot of
capital.
Yeah,
a lot of people.
Here's money, win, and this you guys do. Here's some money, and then this is different ways we can branch your social media, different execution. So you guys got so much more to it.
Yeah. So if I'm running a team or an event company, I'm looking for strategic investors who aren't only just giving me money, but also giving me other services and being able to tap into a wide network. Because anytime you take in money as a company, you dilute some of your shares, right? So you have to be strategic about how much money you take in and from who.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a big tournament coming up, and I'm a huge Warcraft 3 player, and the best thing about Warcraft 3 was mods, and it was Dota.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a huge Dota guy. I play a lot of Dota 2, and it's my favorite esports tournament to watch. So I'm looking forward to that. What do you guys think about the Dota 2 International?
Yeah, the International 9. That's going to be wild, man. So we have Lazarus competing in that.
Yep.
If we can continue with the success they saw at Fortnite, granted, two different games.
Two different games, two different teams.
Two different teams.
Same manager or a different manager completely?
They have different managers. I believe they have different managers for each team, but very much led by Charlie Watson and David Breeson. They actually have a training house here in Santa Monica.
Really?
So
local.
yeah. So I know they're dialing in all their strategy. They're going to do the best they can, and hopefully they walk away with some killer prize purse results. But no, I'm really excited to see that as another big milestone in the industry, showing how sustainable this is.
Right.
The big money coming in, some of these names being latched on to some of the top 10 results, and who knows, maybe we'll see another 16-year-old fully take the whole.
It'll be a
14-year-old
this time.
Yeah, they did it in the past. A 14-year-old guy helped win their first championship.
Yeah.
So that was really incredible. So why should people pay attention to esports at all? And there's all excitement, but why should a regular person pay attention to esports?
Well, I've got my answer, but I'll let you start.
So it really is what the younger generation is getting involved with. Of course, people are going out and playing outside, but people are really staying more indoors. They're more interacting with their friends over esports. They're playing these games as opposed to traditional sports as much. Traditional sports are always going to be around. There's always going to be a basketball game or a road hockey game, but it's not as much as it used to be. So it's the way that society is going as a whole. It's also the next growth sector within investments or within the capital markets field. So from a society point of view, it's the way that the youth is going. From an investment standpoint, it's the next growth sector. We've already seen cryptocurrency kind of come and go. Maybe it's making a little bit of a comeback, but we won't even get into that. Marijuana has arguably hit its peak. There's different arguments to that we don't have to get into. But really the next field is the esports. So people care about it from that standpoint and then care about it from a society standpoint. It really is a global phenomenon with the way technology is, the way that people can play different people all over the world, the way it's bringing different people together. It's something that if you don't care about it, you're on the outside looking in.
Yeah, it's something that you mentioned there. It depends on how you relate to esports,
right?
And how that's important to you and relative in your life, right? Mm-hmm. So as a gamer, and a longtime gamer, you and I are excited about esports because number one, it extends the shelf product of the game.
Right. By years.
So that makes great content for you.
Right.
When you have an audience that says, I love watching Doug play Fortnite or PUBG or Apex, whatever that may be. And especially if you play in that competitive nature you're playing that week over week, and then you're on your way to the big tournament, whatever that may be. We get to follow you.
Right. But not necessarily just like esports, but like when esports does well for a game, regular people will just play the game for fun and happen to watch esports as well. Like, and it helps other content creators. Like, I don't focus a lot on the heavy, like high play esports, but I do make like news content updates on the games, and it does help add more life to the game because people would tap more into game on all branches. If esports does well, it helps push that.
Yeah, and that's an important dynamic too. So you're talking like athletes, you know. One of the big questions I get from investors and other companies is, what's the criteria of drafting up a roster? Why would you select one athlete over the other?
Yeah. This sounds like fantasy right now.
Yeah, I know, right?
Fantasy esports.
And there's
they do that. Actually,
too.
Counter-Strike does do that. Like you could, like, it's so cool. Like games, like you put you can buy these packages. How well a team would do in esports, and some of that prize money goes into prize pool of the whole esports.
Yeah, and that's another big growth sector. But to complete my point,
sorry about that.
About the athletes, we'll get into some of the other sectors of esports. So, if I'm looking for an athlete, they not only have to be great at a game, obviously we want them to go compete and win, but they also need to have an audience behind them. And that's where you start to see a lot of economic durability in these companies being able to say, okay, I'm not just going to bank on prize purse winnings. I need to build other revenue streams. That's content programming. So when you're an influencer and you're an athlete at the same time, now you can generate additional revenue in between all of your tentpole events. And that's just one piece of the team org. There's merchandise, there's ticket sales, there's sponsorships with non-endemic and endemic brands.
Right.
So you really got to dial that in.
Yeah. And they need a cool name.
And they need a cool name.
100%.
You do need a cool name.
Cool name.
That could stick and people can say it and they recognize that name to that person.
Maybe some dyed hair.
What would your esports team name be? I think we had a discussion like this a couple weeks ago.
I forget what I said.
You did more like a traditional sports. See,
I'm boring like that.
Yeah, and I went like the metal route.
Yeah.
Obsidian Onslaught.
Wow. Well, see, as cool as that sounds, it has to be like, I feel like these days, content creators or professional esports player is like shorter, is sweeter, and has a more of a stick.
Yeah.
But speaking of that point, high professional athletes, they stream on the side now. Like when they're not practicing for 8 to 12 hours with their team, they stream on the side, and after their esports career is over, they still have that streaming and those fans that build up over time.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that sure, there's the monetary side of things, that why you stream, because you're building your audience, and you can enter a CPM model with some sort of sponsorship, but it goes beyond that.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of different influencers, obviously including yourself, and it goes beyond the money. It's the community that you're building, and the friendships that you're making, and this just energy that you have with other people around the world that money cannot buy.
Of course.
And that's the beauty about esports, is the beauty about gaming, is that we're all in this together, and we hate to see when someone else doesn't succeed or they fail.
Right.
So we've seen a couple of those blips the past couple months, and we're all working together to address those.
So with all these tournaments, these prize pools, what is the vertical pillars for New Wave?
Sure, yeah, I'll take that one.
Yeah.
So we already very much elaborated on the team, leagues, and organizations. Platforms and networks. That's a really important one. Yeah. So, I look at esports as a triangle. It's a pyramid, right? And at the top, you have all the big headlines coming out. And that's, Will Smith putting in $30 million on Gen G, or, the Fortnite World Cup, and that affects a very small population of the gaming and esports industry. But what about the bottom? The 99% of people that want to get involved in competitive gaming or esports, but may not have the tools to do so, or they're learning, or they just started. That's where platforms and networks come into play. It's connecting people globally on, say, an online platform. So, hey, maybe I'm really good at the game. I want to be a coach, and I'm going to go find other players throughout the world. I'm going to start my team by going to a platform online and doing that. Or esports betting, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
That's a big sector coming in, and we actually placed an investment in that already called Playline. Yeah. And they're based out of Toronto.
Based out of Toronto, backed by some really big famous guys.
Yeah, who?
Well, I'll let you speak to their background a little bit.
I was passing the mic, but No, so Playline is co-founded by Michael Bisping, UFC middleweight champion.
UFC's involved.
Dude,
wow.
Yeah. Well, not UFC, but he's
he was
athlete.
UFC guy.
Yeah, and dude's a beast, man.
Yeah.
Really cool guy. Yeah, and then he's joined by Roy Hibbert, NBA All-Star, two-time All-Star, as their strategic partnership manager. And then the company is very much run by Aaron Avruskin, Jason Falovich, which are just super comprehensive, intelligent guys that have built Playline into what it is now. So they take their love for daily fantasy sports and brings it over to esports. So they have the traditional sports model where you could go in, predict the stat line of a certain game or how an athlete will perform. Well, they've got some partnerships coming up with Twitch that's going to put them on the map there. They've got a NASCAR collaboration that just closed out. We're super thrilled with what they're doing there. So they're pushing that platform pillar forward.
Right.
And it's been very instrumental in our portfolio.
So what does the overall esports investment ecosystem looking like as of today?
Yeah. So actually, I think that'll segue into the other pillars as well, because then that'll give us a good sense of what esports investment's all about. The third there is like events and activations. So actual put on your pants, go to an event, like you say, get on my level. And we've invested in an organization called Even Matchup Gaming. And then the fourth is emerging technologies. So like we were talking about earlier, how does 5G mobile networks play into this?
Wow, I would never think 5G and connect to esports because I always think of big tournaments, but mobile.
Well, look at IM Catalyst. They feature mobile tournaments. It is on the rise, man.
Yeah.
And so we need to develop technologies that help innovate and push that tech forward. So if you look at that as a whole, you have your teams, your platforms, your events and activations and tech. That's sort of esports in a nutshell. Every company fits within those, or they have a blend in between those two. That's the esports industry as a whole, and so we look to invest and push each one of those forward.
Okay. So as a person who is interested in esports, why should I invest in the ecosystem instead of like a single team that I really like?
Great question.
Yeah. We get that a lot, actually.
Yeah, so it's there's not a lot of companies in the esports realm that are public, and being a public company is really important because if you want your capital out, if the investment materializes and you want to take profit on it, if it's private, you can't necessarily do that. If the company is public, they generally have a little bit easier growth period because they have access to capital. In Canada, companies that are public have generally an easier time getting capital. And you want to be invested in something like a New Wave because you're going to have access to a public vehicle in a company that is exposed to all the different sectors within esports, as opposed to just trying to pick one racehorse in one race as a whole. And it's a little bit more risky, if you will.
I mean, I would want to hedge my bets as best as possible.
For sure.
Yeah, and so
diversification.
Exactly, and I think that's where you see some of your resilience. So, like, we're all looking at esports, especially in North America. How's this going to net out?
Yep.
Where's really going to be the biggest revenue opportunities? And so, if you're investing in, say, a company like New Wave, we have our ear to the ground. We see all that movement. We're looking at financials in these companies. We can make that call. So take the guesswork out of it. Rely on the experts and the professionals.
Exactly.
Let us do the work for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally. The one of the struggles that the esports sector has right now is that the companies, they don't have a lot of revenue, or some companies don't. Finding companies that are cash flow positive and their bottom line is a little bit tough. So when you're investing in such early companies, you want to have a diverse portfolio. You don't want to have all your money or all your eggs in one basket. Right. And New Wave is a great vehicle to do that. And then obviously we will be public this fall, we expect. So
I'm going to do some stock talk here.
Okay.
Based on what I'm getting, it's like instead of investing in one company, it's more like you guys are a S&P 500 where you like have 500 companies and one does bad, the other one still can carry it. From what I'm gathering, unless it's
we're not going to be. We won't have 500 companies underneath our umbrella. But the idea,
think big. We might someday.
We might have 600.
Yeah.
But it's more so you got to think of New Wave has like a venture portfolio where we're invested into a number of different companies. We'll have acquisitions underneath one arm where we own companies 100% is the goal. And then within all these companies, we have collaboration going on. We have guidance. We're interacting the companies, and yeah. So it's more of a diversified portfolio approach.
Right. I had a good question and I just totally blinked out.
Well, while you think about that, it's also really important for us to diversify, not only because we do get involved with all these teams these companies, but it's important for us to build synergies between those.
For sure.
So if we're putting all our money just in teams,
right.
Well, those teams are inherently competitors with each other, right?
Yeah, you have two teams in the same tournament.
Yeah, they're going to be competing over that space. Now, that's not saying that we're not going to invest in more teams. We absolutely will. But we want to build synergies within our portfolio. So, for example, if you have Even Matchup Gaming, who's great at white labeling events, they could go in and provide the logistical side of things behind the venue, a setup, live streaming, and let's say, Tidal. They need a venue space to broadcast some of their new content because they brought in a new team member. Or they just started up a new team.
Right.
So then we could tap into Even Matchup Gaming. They could share that revenue, and they walk away happy, and we built this great partnership with those two companies, and then we continue to build on that.
So I finally remember my question. So you're talking about, it's better to have an open public company.
Yeah.
Is New Wave a public trading company? Like, could I just buy stock invested now? Or?
So we expect you will be able to. We're in the process of listing on the Canadian Securities Exchange. The paperwork is all going smoothly, and we expect to be public this October.
Yeah, October. So this year.
This year.
So set some money aside in case I want to invest in the ecosystem.
And if Doug wanted to, how would he do that? Like, what's the process there? Is it just like going on E-Trade?
So the process is quite simple. You have like buying any other stock in Canada or in the U.S. You have a brokerage account or a self-directed trading account. You have some money in it, and you decide, I want to buy some New Wave, and you look at the market and say, this is the price I'm willing to pay, and whether you bid for the stock or you pay the offer.
Okay.
And then you obviously the same process when you want to sell it. You see the stock in your account. Maybe it's a day later, maybe it's a week, maybe it's a year later, whatever it is. Different people have different horizons or time frames for investing. You say, you know what, I want to sell it, and this is my price, or I'm willing to sell it wherever, and you can see the market. And again, that goes back to the advantage over a private company. A lot of people can invest in. They don't get exposed. They don't see the private companies to the same degree as maybe funds do or whatnot. But if something came up in your life where you wanted to take that investment out 6 months from now, and if it's a private company, there's not necessarily the market for it. There's not the liquidity. Generally, with a public stock, there is going to be the liquidity, and there's always going to be a marketplace for it.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a ticker symbol in mind already for it, or is it still being fleshed out?
We got it locked down. We can't announce it yet.
Oh, okay.
But someone at the CSC was like, yo, look at it. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted.
Make it the longest character.
No one can, so when you're looking at it, just, what is this long one? Okay, maybe I should invest in that. But the cool thing about investing in, say, a public company listed on the CSC, especially us, you don't have to have a Warren Buffett bank account to invest.
No.
You could have $5. Now, granted, your $5, you're going to get, say a 3 times multiplier, you get $15 off of that.
Yeah.
But you don't need to be some rich, crazy investor.
Just like a regular person who has $20 in my pocket.
Doesn't matter how much you have.
Yeah.
You can contribute to the esports industry and help push that forward.
Awesome. So what's next for New Wave Esports?
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's a great question. So the next big thing is us going public, of course.
Right.
We're always looking at new companies to invest in and potential acquisitions. The company meets daily, works on it daily of the different pillars that we are looking at. We are collaborating with the companies that we are investing in, and introducing them to different parties and Dan's network within the esports realm. But the major things that we're working on is the go public, of course, getting the New Wave brand out there, making people aware of it, and continue to look for more acquisitions and investments.
Yeah, so what you'll see is when we do go public, we'll make some big moves. We got a couple companies we're doing some homework on now, and then we'll pull that trigger and continue to add to the portfolio. Which for those who are investing shareholders, obviously that helps with your valuation and return on your investment. But again, helps grow that portfolio. So that way we do push the industry forward. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
And beyond that, beyond just like growing our portfolio, again, we get involved with these companies. So
it's really important. It's really important that we don't just make an investment, walk away, and say, call me in 6 months, let me know how your quarter was or how your half year is or whatever it is. We really, and if the companies don't do well, we almost take it on, or we will take it on ourselves as we didn't give them the right guidance. We didn't work with them the way we should have.
So a good example here, even Matchup Gaming. There's some non-endemic brands that want to get involved in the space but may not know how to. So our marketing team very much opened up this opportunity for us to work with this non-endemic, really spell out what that execution may look like, come up with a good campaign, and then once we lock that down, that opens up some good sponsorship revenue for EMG. And then they can do some bigger and better things. So we're going to be busy with growing a lot of our companies as well.
Right. So with, a lot of tournaments coming up, what teams do you guys currently have on your roster?
Yeah, so we have one team on our roster, and that's Team Lazarus. Obviously, they made the headlines coming out of the Fortnite World Cup.
Right.
So they are the top earningest team in North America for 2019. Hopefully they can keep that trend going into the International 9 and become top earningest in the world.
So by the end of this year, how many teams are you hoping to have within the branch?
It depends on what makes sense. So we're still listening to the industry. We're listening to where those revenue growth opportunities are. I would say not placing all of our capital into just teams is smart.
Right.
Because a lot of teams, even though they have great valuations and they're pulling in some great money, can they optimize their business enough to be bottom line profitable over the next couple of years? And so we're listening to see where the dust settles on that. So again, diversified portfolio, important. Don't put all your bet into one single pillar, spread that. I would like to see another 2 or 3 teams underneath our belt. And I think that is in the future over the next 5 years of New Wave Esports.
Awesome. So what else haven't you told me about that you want to get off your chest?
Oh, man. That we can publicly disclose.
Yeah, can disclose. Don't worry, you can tell me right now and no one would know.
Yeah. I would love to actually compete in a team, but I am not fast enough.
You could be a coach.
I could do it.
You could be a coach.
Yeah. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. Awesome. Guys, this has been great. Thank you so much for having me. First, especially your first part of your stream, but we do have some other things I just remembered.
We have questions coming in from the audience. And so there's a couple things that we do need to go over.
Sure, let's talk.
Didn't mean to cut you off there.
No worries.
Okay. So question here is, will we be at Gamescom?
Will you guys be at Gamescom?
I will be at Gamescom, yes. Yeah, I fly out Saturday.
Do you get a booth? Is there a booth?
I don't have a booth, no. Okay. Not this time around. In the future, absolutely. And I think that'll be important as we bring in additional deal flow. But I'm going out there. I'm going to Spovis, which is a big gaming esports conference on that Monday. Okay. So a lot of C-level people are coming out, professionals in industry, talking about their companies, talking about the movement in esports, and especially with a focus on Europe and Asia. And that's what I'm excited about this Gamescom. So coming out of that conference, now I'm going to be in the business lounge area. Yeah. I'll be at the EA lounge as well with all my family over there.
Yeah.
I got to represent.
We're never getting new Battlefield update, Dan.
I don't know. Quit asking me those questions. I still get tweets like, hey, man, the new map sucks, or I really like the new map. It's cool. Great, kudos. I'm like, thanks. Where have you been the past 7 months?
Yeah.
So we'll be at Gamescom. We're going to be in the business lounge and really looking at the European deal flow. I really want to see what's coming out of each country, potentially strike up some deals. Because, yes, our portfolio has been North American focused.
Yeah.
Mainly because that's where we started. But we need to expand globally.
Yep.
Yeah.
And parties and Kolsch and brats.
I do like brats. I like brats.
Schnitzel. Oh, yeah. Are you going?
No, it's been a crazy summer for me, so
I know.
I'm getting a house, I'm getting married, so
awesome.
I don't want to travel too much and save those funds for future investments that are coming up.
Yeah.
But
this guy's like, what did you do with our honeymoon money? You spent it all on brats and beer?
Brats and beers!
What's the problem?
It's my bachelor party.
She's over here like,
but I was told there were some audio issues in the beginning, and they're fixed. Thank you guys for your feedback on that. It's awesome. So I think that's all the questions we have.
I don't know.
Right?
No, there was more questions, but the phone locked.
Well, it was the feedback on the audio issues, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, we optimized those.
Yeah.
We do have some other people here. Adrian Padlin, what markets outside the U.S. do you plan on entering?
So it's a great question. It's really, we're looking globally. Esports is really a global phenomenon, and there's great companies, there's great people, there's great management all over the world. So we look to diversify into companies that exist in other markets outside of North America. Obviously, Asia's big. We look to go into Europe. It's part of the reason that Dan's going over to very shortly overseas. So I'm not sure where it's going to be exactly next, but definitely I think you can expect to see New Wave invested into different markets outside of North America.
Look, Europe is a hotbed. You know, Europe's very much advanced in their esports ecosystem.
Yeah.
And so having some key investments there is going to be important for us. You know, so we're already starting to see our name become synonymous with esports, primarily in North America. And I like to tell this anecdote. I'm on the troubleshooting line with a web host. So we're a small team. I'm also the IT guy.
IT guy, web host.
Yeah.
How do I add this button right here?
Yeah, you know, so I'm trying to deal with some email issues, and the guy's like, you know, qualifying who I am and checking in my account. He's like, New Wave, huh? Oh yeah, heard about that company. I'm like, really? What? This is a random troubleshooter on a web host company. I'm like, okay, what'd you hear about it? Well, I was watching this interview with Dan Mitre, and I really like what they're doing. They're pushing esports forward to get involved in different companies. And he's like, well, anyways, so what's your name? I'm like, Dan Mitre. He's like, oh, cool, man. And so instead of working on my email issues, we talked about esports for 15 minutes.
So you got nothing done.
Pretty much,
Okay.
Yeah, and he's over here like, dude, is my email fixed yet? I'm like, yeah, I'm working on it.
So this is the first live stream podcast.
Let me actually
go ahead.
answer Adrian's other question here. Is there a reason to invest in North America first versus Asia or other places? The only reason that we have is I'm a big believer in crawl, walk, run, and I think companies get into trouble a little bit when they try and run first. So the reason we've gone to North America first is because it's the market that we know the best. It's a market that we live in. It's a market that we can really work with first. And although we will be going to outside places, I think it's important that we did that first. We prove that we can do that, and then we expand, as opposed to being an early stage company and really trying to run outside of our immediate comfort zone. But there's no reason, if somebody else has a company that maybe they're comfortable with outside of North America. Again, there are great companies, there's great management, there's great growth outside there. So it should definitely be somewhere that people are looking. And New Wave will be going there. It's just we started with what we know the most, and again, sort of crawling, if you will.
I also want to speak that I'm not part of New Wave, just in case they didn't catch it in the beginning. I do a lot of North America investments in my stock because some other countries, for example, China, it's government regulated. You have to have government approval, a government oversight saying, yes, you can do this, yes, no, you can't do that. But I do have investment in other countries, but that's something I do like North America, where the company's kind of running their own show.
Yeah, a little bit.
With that being said, and I think he has one more.
Yeah, Adrian's lighting this up. This is good. He says, is investing in hardware for esports something you guys look at as part of the ecosystem of esports? Absolutely. And that's the technology side of things.
Yeah.
And there are some companies out there that are innovating in hardware, whether it's like performance enhancing socks on your hand, whether that works or not, you know, like even sometimes the placebo effect of that can help someone compete better, all the way to modifying controllers. Like at Get On My Level, there was a vendor booth there where they opened up their old GameCube controllers, put in higher performance components, and so that way they can compete better.
When you guys look at, like, you know, performance enhancement hardware, does it have to go through a process of being approved that you can use it in like a competitive environment? Like, what's the the line
Yeah,
there?
so we haven't invested in any. We're listening to the industry and where that's going, and that has been a concern of mine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so obviously, where does that fit in an actual sanctioned event? Mm-hmm. Is that regulated? Is that allowed? Mm-hmm. And I think that plays into the audience. You know, like if you're limited at that point, now you can't break into esports like you need to. You can't penetrate that market where that's your core audience, that's your core consumer. So it's like, you know, how is that positioned? Is it for training? You know, what does the marketing campaign look behind that? What's the vision, the brand, and the flavor of this company? So now you're starting to see it's not just the financials of things, which is a strong component when we evaluate, but it's how is this brand positioned? How is it entering the market? How does it affect the market? And is it sustainable? So I think, you know, these regulations coming through with a lot of these tournaments are going to dictate where we go in the future. Like, of course, you can't get drugged up.
Yeah,
and like,
you can't take
and I hope not. You know? Yeah. Of course, Red Bull's there, and that's a great drink that can be used. But
awesome. I think that's
there is a Poi Dog. Oh, he goes, just a personal shout out to Dan. So pumped for you and the team. I'll message you later about setting up a first time investment. Very interested. Awesome, Poi Dog.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We could answer your question.
Yeah.
So, where can we catch, like, how will you guys give more updates, more podcasts? How can we learn more about New Wave and the ecosystem and the esports scene? So
this was our first podcast. Thank you, or live stream. Thank you for joining us.
Our tech team.
Yeah, we will turn into a podcast.
Okay.
So that way you can listen again on your way home.
Yeah, road trip.
But every month we go in and we record podcasts, and we're going to be releasing one every single week. So our live streams will be available on Facebook Live, and then the podcast anywhere that you listen to podcasts. So we'll be distributing across all the different networks.
And then find out more about New Wave is they can go to our website or they can email us.
Yep, NukemDukem. We're on every social channel, so where you're at, we're at. But you can also email us, Wave Esports.
We want to hear from people. We want to have questions. We want to have an open dialogue with not just our investors, but with people in the sector as a whole, in the esports ecosystem, and with people that even just want to find out about esports.
Yeah.
We want to talk about it with people.
Yeah.
So if I tweet at you, will you be responding to me? It's like, I'm talking to the president right now.
I think so, yeah.
Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for letting me host your first stream, and this has been a great and insightful. I never would think about this esports, so it's good to learn more about my own profession and a different sector of it.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, thank you for joining.
Thank you.
I will say in the future we've got some great guests joining us.
Awesome.
So we really do appreciate you coming in, being sort of our host and guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, but in future podcasts we've got an interview with Joe Krabari of EMG. We've got an interview with Neil Duffy, who's at World Gaming, an advisor on a lot of different companies, including ours.
Yep.
And a lot of other really cool stuff coming up.
Awesome.
So, thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. Cool.
Awesome.
Later, guys. Bye.